Okay, good evening, everybody. Hope everybody had a good weekend, safe, and ready for a Monday. Hopefully, we'll get something this week. We keep saying it every week. Sometime it will happen. Terry's first. Did you get to listen to the first show today, Terry? A lot of good stuff out the first show. Wow, Billy Bean didn't come out today. That was last night. One was my goodness. Cindy. Oh, we got my time. My times are different now, Sandy. I just come on when I can and stay on when I can, and we got so much stuff coming out now, and uh, so much intel to share. So I'll try to, each day goes, day by day, and a lot of intel. We had a great show earlier on the first show. Okay, that's good. Everything okay? Kay's resting tonight, so I don't know if she's going to be coming in tonight or not, but not feeling well. So, so what's the thing on that date about the Titanic, Terry? What Mel was saying on the 17th about the Titanic or something, whatever. I forgot what state you were from, Sandy. Kentucky. Okay. Oh, you got old Mitchie there, huh? Mitch McConnell. Well, he's not as bad as what I got. Whitmer. Whitmer's worse than Mitch. We get a lot of new people in here now, Sandy. Have you heard from Gigs at all? Is she around? I hope her health is okay. Saying how ill she was and everything. I wish someone knew how she was doing. I think what's her name from Canada? I forgot her name. Forgot her name. Tim. No, gigs. Not the one that you just said, Tim. Stop whining. Did you get a chance to see the first show, Carol? It was a good one. Yeah, Marco too. Yep. I heard. I think Flying Eagle said. I think he goes over to Hawks a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of old names that we haven't seen. We went 3.5 hours, Carol, because we had Mel today. Mel was really good today. No more food. You're fine. Now lay down. So we're going to do a lot of short ones and 15 ones. Like a, excuse me. I got like 6Q videos and Trisha, but I'm going to start off with this one, a 5 minute one about. Hey, Daniel, you made it. Yep, happy Sunday. Second show, a lot of intel. I gotta get Chico to the window. Oh, hush. Come on, come on. You better behave. You hear me? You stay there and be good. Leave the deer alone. There's one deer out there right now. Yeah, that time it's actually 70 degrees right now. See the flying eagles coming in. YouTube entertainment and opinions only. I'm waiting for Flying Eagle to get in and put in the disclaimer, but that's all I put down until he gets in. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Hopefully, everybody will be coming in here. So, I'm missing quite a few. How many like straw man? Oh, jeez. Chico, what did I say? Stop it. Come on. No, I'm going to turn the air on. I need the air on. Is straw man okay, you guys? Who likes straw man? So I'm going to play this short clip. If you guys don't like them, I'll stop them.
And I believe England and New Zealand and are similarly have straw men for when you're born, you get a birth certificate, which is your certificate of birth. It's like a ship coming. It's all done by Admiralty law. That's why a British Admiralty, rule and regulations, the bar.
You're talking my game. Keep going, sir. If you keep going for this for a while, people love to know this stuff. And it's one of the top shows I've ever done is on sovereignty, admiral law, the straw man, showing them fidelity in the U.S. and Manulife Financial in Canada, and the fact that any Canadian registered under Vital Statistics Canada and gets a social insurance, a SIN number, then is registered in Washington, D.C. and falls under the American Corporation, where the Crown Corporation of Canada is headquartered on Pennsylvania Avenue at the Canadian Embassy, which was established July 1, 1867. I'm going to mute myself so people get to hear this directly from you, Gene, for these next few minutes.
That social insurance is the same way they do it in the UK. I'm not sure how they do it in New Zealand and Australia, but it's very similar. And so by the time you're 50, your straw man is about $1 billion on the stock market. It's traded. And by the time you're in your 70s and you've retired, it's 10 billion or more. So, if you want, once the Nassar Jassar rolls out, and let's say you're 50 years old and you want a humanitarian project, they're not going to grant you money. They're going to give you your money. You won't need a grant. $1 billion? That's a serious project you can get. If you're in your 70s, 10 billion or more, and it varies per person. And so, for example, when you buy a home, the bank goes to your straw man and loans you your money and pays you. You have to pay interest on the loan on your own money. This was done under FDR, the birth certificate thing, which is, like when you go to court and you step into the dead man box, they shut the gate behind you and you're a dead man because the ship is no longer at sea, you've been taken out, and the judge gets paid from your straw man. So these judges, they've got to know this stuff. They've got to run this a long time. And the job is to see, what violations and find you as a ship, corporation. And so what violations of the high seas you've done. So like when you're born, you come out of the water and you get your certificate, your parents sign you into slavery. And then you're traded, and everything you make is adding into that. And here it's actually all yours in the first place. So it's just ridiculous. And then the currency that you're paid, that's the current of the ocean that you're in as a corporation at sea. And so, this all ties together, and this is all coming down. So the Jasara Nasara, they're as people will be getting this return of their values for their straw man, they won't need to work unless they like to work. And then you can work, and you don't have to work to struggle to make a living. You don't have to make a living. You have a living. You are created by God to have a comfortable life and a living. And so, one thing I realized I got correct some information that I've misunderstood something for quite a while regarding Jasara Nasara. The quantum financial system, all of the economic tools, whether it's currency, money, bills, whatever, gold, silver coin, that are minted in the United States underneath the U.S. Treasury, as per the Act of Congress, Article 1, Section 8, then all of that, it's not blockchain. And none of the information is held in any computer system on Earth. Why do you think Artemis what do you think it's doing? Why is it so timed right now? Because what they're doing is this ties to the quantum system, setting it up so it's not in some computer at MIT, like the internet, the main system is at MIT. Aaron Swartz hacked that system and got like everything, all the Epstein stuff, everything else. So he was what they call the internet boy, the internet's.
Yeah, I don't normally play him. I just thought I'd put that up.
Doing it all for you so you can chase this feeling. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax.
What's up, family? Welcome back to Out of the Dark. I am Q. So Donald Trump has set the world ablaze today. Donald Trump has done the absolute unthinkable and completely taken all of the cards off the table for Iran. And people are trying to scratch their heads and trying to figure why. I had a guy at church earlier today ask me, he's like, Q, what in the world is Donald Trump doing? I can't figure this one out. One day he seems like he's got the world by the tail, and the next day it seems as though he's off his meds. What is the deal? I said, well, let's put it like this. I'm the oldest of 6, okay? There are 4 boys in my family. I'm the oldest of 4. At 6'4", I'm one of the shortest of the bunch. Now, my mother is 5'3", a small lady in stature, but we and my siblings would never dream of testing my mother. Now, my mother, till this very day, I am very, very careful how I speak to my mother, always extremely overly respectful. My mother would say things like, boy, I'll snatch you through this phone. And even though I'm pretty sure at this stage in my life that I have a grasp on physics, and I don't think she could actually snatch me through the phone, I've seen my mother do some things just crazy enough that I'm not 100% sure, and I'm not willing to take the risk. So it's yes, ma'am, it's no, ma'am. This is Donald Trump in a nutshell. You cannot figure out exactly what this man will and will not do. And therefore, you must give him the respect that he deserves. You may think, he wouldn't do that, would he? And then he turns around and says, watch this. He pulls a Venezuela. He pulls a Iran. He does things that people would never think he would ever do. And I found that as a parent, you have to do that. You have to be just crazy enough to where your kids are like, you know what, I'm not going to chance it. I don't think it's worth it. And I think that's where the world is at this very moment. So Donald Trump decided today that he was going to use our Navy to completely shut down the Strait of Hormuz. See, Iran, they're rookies at this negotiation deal. They thought, well, you know, we've got all the cards. We can shut down the Strait of Hormuz and we can bring the world to its knees. And we'll just let our friends through. We'll let the Chinese through. We might let the Japanese through. And the rest of them will charge a hefty fee. And we'll make ourselves wealthy and rebuild our weapons cache by charging $1 million per ship. Donald Trump got word of this and says they better stop it or I'm not going to put up with it. Sure enough, today he used the United States Navy to completely shut down the blockade. Nobody in, nobody out. And he's escorting all the ships out, and no one will be allowed to enter or exit until the United States has completely swept the entire strait to ensure that there are no mines in the strait. And the United States will say all in, all out, meaning everybody comes in, everybody goes out. Iran does not have the right to tell who is in and who is not in and who goes out without paying a toll. That's done. Donald Trump has said no more. We will control the strait at this point. And this is really all that we've all been talking about since the very beginning. We've been talking about if we're going to fight a war, fight the war to win the war. Don't fight the war to tie. Don't fight the war like a European soccer match. End it all. Well, no one won, but no one lost. We're tired of fighting wars this way. Control the Strait of Hormuz. Make sure that the Iran is not able to extort people anymore. And we need to make sure that everybody is treated fairly. So for the time being, Iran didn't even know that they were going to be in a situation like they are, because now they can't sell any of their oil. Nothing can go in, nothing can go out. So they've really played themselves out. So Trump is going to starve them. He is going to make sure that they can't make a dime unless they figure out somehow how to build a pipeline over the mountains, which is going to take a lot more time than just capitulate. Let me know what you guys think about this. Sorry, Mom, if you're watching this, I didn't mean to.
Okay, the first one. Do it.
40 days of war, 4 days of ceasefire, and 21 days of marathon negotiations later, the US and Iran are back to square one. Both sides failed to breach the deadlock during talks in Islamabad. Now, US President Donald Trump has ordered fresh mobilization in the Hormuz Strait. In a post on his Truth Social account, Trump announced that the US Navy will impose a blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. This means US forces will block any and all ships that are trying to enter the crucial waterway. Trump also added that those ships who are paying a toll to Iran will not have safe passage in the high seas. Trump has vowed to force open the Strait of Hormuz. The American president says that any Iranian who attacks US ships will be blown to hell. This could reopen the gates of war that are so far being held by a fragile ceasefire. Trump has issued a warning to Iran. He says that US forces remain locked and loaded and will finish whatever is left of Iran. Trump is responding to a blockade with a blockade. This could send shockwaves through global oil markets due to the complete choking of the Strait of Hormuz. The US has previously used blockades against Venezuela and Cuba. The crown jewel of the US Navy, the USS Gerald R. Ford, is back in action. It has joined the USS Abraham Lincoln and the amphibious assault ship, the USS Tripoli. American forces are already stepping up operations to open the Strait of Hormuz. 2 American guided missile destroyers passed through the strait on Saturday. This was the first transit by American ships during the war and a challenge to Iran's control of the waterway. The Iranian side, however, said that the US warships were forced to escape after they issued a warning. Following the collapse of US-Iran talks in Pakistan, Israel's army chief, Ayal Zamir, has ordered heightened readiness. Israeli forces have been asked to identify fresh targets and prepare strike packages. Iran's nuclear enrichment and the Strait of Hormuz blockade remain the main sticking points. Both the US and Iran declared that no common ground had been reached during the talks in Islamabad. Is there more diplomacy to come? Will the diplomatic needle still move? Or will there be a full-blown war for the Strait of Hormuz? Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Okay, that's the first update on that. We got the first part 1.
From anything the US could throw at them. But we just discovered why only the B-1B Lancer could collapse Iran's underground missile cities. For decades, the IRGC bragged about their invincible fortresses, buried 1,000 feet under solid rock. They were so confident, they moved their entire nuclear and missile command into these mountain honeycombs, laughing at our stealth jets and precision bombs. But they forgot one thing. Physics does not care how deep you dig. While the world was looking for stealth, the US sent in heavy metal. The B-1B did not just bomb the mountain, it used a secret seismic frequency that turned the rock itself into a giant hammer. There is a hidden tofu dreg weakness in those tunnels that only a supersonic heavy hitter like the Lancer can exploit. Did Iran just lose its ultimate shield? Or did the B-1B just prove that even a mountain can be brought to its knees? Deep under Iran's mountains, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps carved out their so-called missile cities, miles of tunnels, concrete blast doors, and launch galleries, all wrapped in the illusion of perfect safety. In their eyes, depth was the ultimate shield. The further they tunneled, the more invincible they believed themselves to be. Some of these complexes burrowed hundreds of meters into solid rock, with reinforced ceilings and labyrinthine corridors designed to swallow up any conventional bomb or surveillance drone. Iranian engineers boasted of command posts embedded so far beneath the mountain's skin that even the Earth's own tremors barely registered. Not even earthquakes, they claimed, could touch their war rooms. This was more than bravado. For decades, military planners around the world accepted a simple equation: depth equals survival. The deeper you build, the harder you are to reach, especially when your enemy relies on precision-guided munitions or stealth aircraft. The United States, Russia, and China all had their own versions of this thinking. Bury it, shield it, and you can outlast the storm. Iran's generals took this logic to its extreme. They packed their most valuable assets, ballistic missiles, command centers, even nuclear infrastructure, into these mountain fortresses. They invested in blast doors rated for multi-ton impacts, redundant air systems, and backup power grids. Some for Tehran.
Part 1, I got 3 parts. Then we'll get to Trisha videos. Trisha will be next.
Unleash missiles at a moment's notice. On state television, the message was clear. These bunkers were untouchable, invisible, and eternal. But belief is not the same as proof. Every layer of rock, every meter of concrete, became a kind of psychological armor. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps' confidence hardened into doctrine. They stopped worrying about the sky above and started trusting the mountain below. That's when overconfidence set in, when depth became not just a defense, but a blind spot. They forgot the one rule that governs every engineered structure, no matter how deep. Physics always gets the last word. Operation Epic Fury, Wave 4. The record begins at 2:15 a.m. March 31st. Target, the Great Prophet. Underground Launch Complex, coordinates redacted. 2 B-1B Lancers, each loaded to near structural maximum, combined payload 150,000 pounds, all specialized penetrators. No stealth, no subterfuge, just mass and velocity. Release profile, Mach 1.2 at low altitude, the kind of run that leaves contrails of contempt in the night air. Ordnance, GBU-72, the so-called smart-timed penetrator, programmed for staggered impact intervals. The kinetic ledger is unforgiving. Kinetic energy equals 1/2 mass times velocity squared. 68 metric tons, 408 meters per second. 5.7 billion joules of energy delivered to a mountain's ribcage in less than a minute. Not a single warhead wasted on surface targets. Every bomb aimed at the tunnel mouths, support galleries, and blast doors rated to withstand 2,000-pound direct hits. Sensors in Dubai and Oman, 20 minutes after impact, picked up a resonance event lasting 42 seconds. Not a single earthquake on record matched the frequency or duration. The Earth itself vibrated at the forced cadence of American industry. Inside the mountain, the consequences were immediate. 48 ballistic missile batteries lost, their launch rails twisted or buried. Blast doors, engineered to absorb everything Iran could imagine, failed catastrophically, shrapnel where there should have been steel. No vertical launch.
2 more parts and we'll get Trish the video next. Here we go.
The mountain's shield turned traitor, amplifying every shockwave instead of dampening it. This is not speculation. These are the facts as entered into the ledger. 2 B-1B aircraft, 150,000 pounds, Mach 1.2, GBU-72, 42 seconds of resonance, 48 batteries lost, 2,000-pound doors obliterated. Physics, not propaganda. The mountain listened and the mountain broke. The B-1B Lancer is not a ghost in the night. It is not a myth. It is a machine, 3 weapons bays, 4 engines, and a payload capacity that leaves lesser bombers in its wake. While others whisper about stealth and signatures, the B-1B speaks the language of mass and momentum. This is a platform built for the kind of work that does not care about being seen, only about being felt. Each of those 3 bays can be loaded with the kind of ordnance that turns hardened optimism into rubble. Penetrators, bunker busters, guided bombs. The numbers are not subtle. 75,000 pounds of munitions distributed across internal racks engineered for rapid sequencing. The doors themselves are masterpieces, opening and closing in less than 2 seconds, so the airflow barely notices, and the aircraft stays fast, low, and lethal. A weapons officer, call him Major Dean, one of the best, once described the process like this. It's not about dropping everything at once. It's about timing. You want each impact to land before the echoes of the last have faded. You want the mountain to ring. His hands trace the sequence, fingers tapping an invisible console. Every bay, every rack, every release, tuned to a schedule tighter than a concert pianist's. If you do it right, the ground itself becomes your amplifier. That's not bravado, that's engineering. The B-1B's release timing control lets it stagger impacts to fractions of a second, spacing detonations so that shockwaves overlap and reinforce, not cancel. This is not a single hammer blow, it is a drum roll, each strike compounding the stress inside the mountain's skeleton. The geometry matters. The bombers approach at low altitude, hugging the terrain, velocity north of Mach. No.
The last part.
push 120,000 pounds of thrust, enough to keep the aircraft stable even as the bays cycle open and shut, even as the bombs drop away at intervals measured in milliseconds. No other bomber in the American arsenal can match this particular mix. The B-2 Spirit hides in the dark, the B-21 Raider promises efficiency, but neither can deliver a barrage of this magnitude at this speed, this close to the ground. The B-1B is not a scalpel, it is a sledgehammer with a metronome. Inside the cockpit, the sequencing is pure choreography. The weapons officer calls out the cadence. The pilot rides the terrain-following radar. Each bomb as it releases is tracked by onboard sensors and data links, the timing adjusted in real time if the wind shifts or the mountain breathes differently. The aim is not just to breach a door or collapse a tunnel mouth. The aim is to send a series of kinetic messages, each one tuned to the frequency that makes concrete shudder and steel supports sing. This is the skeleton key to the missile cities. Not stealth, not subterfuge, just mass, velocity, and timing. The B-1B does not ask the mountain for permission. It brings the mountain to heel, one measured impact at a time. Somewhere in Moscow, a line of analysts stared at their screens, the digital aftershocks from Iran still echoing across secure networks. They were not alone. In Beijing, policy hawks pored over telemetry and seismic logs, chasing the same question. If a mountain could betray its secrets to American engineering, what did that mean for their own sanctuaries? Hardened basing had been the universal insurance policy. Russia's Yamantau, China's underground Great Wall, these were not just bunkers, but symbols of second strike certainty, the backbone of deterrence theory. The logic was simple. If you can bury it deep enough, you can buy time, absorb the first blow, and guarantee a response. Suddenly, that equation looked suspect. A strategic analyst, Dr. Svetlana Markova, late of the Russian Academy of Sciences, summed up the mood in a single phrase. If the Americans can make the mountains sing, what hope do we have? She was not talking about stealth. She was talking the 4 General Electric.
Okay, I thought those were important military videos. The first Trisha video now.
Guess I've always been a gentleman.
DJ?
We've been duped, right, by the likes of NATO, and it's not fair and it's not right. We also have to think we've been duped right here at home, in our own home country, whether it be in Minnesota or in California. And our favorite YouTuber, well, besides me, right? My favorite YouTuber, besides me, make sure you subscribe, is a guy named Nick Shirley. He's actually done a tremendous amount of reporting. And from the day I saw him, and I used to work at CBS News, I said 60 Minutes has to hire this kid because he's phenomenal. He's doing the job that 60 Minutes was supposed to do. I could see Mike Wallace doing this a zillion years ago, right? Because he would like get a camera and like chase people down. This is exactly what Nick Shirley's doing. And he started in Minnesota where he exposed all this crazy fraud, and he's taken the show on the road. And what do you know? He's finding a ton of it. He's finding all kinds of it out in Gavin Newsom's California. Watch this with me. Do you know they actually have daycares for elderly that are making millions and millions of dollars, where apparently nobody's actually going?
Now we are here outside of Healthy Life Adult Daycare. This place, over the past few years, has billed $19.8 million alone. Now let's go see if I can enroll my grandma, because she needs some daycare. And this right here is the entrance of a building that's received over $19 million. So this is the location that's received over $19 million. Kind of crazy, right? They say that right here, right now we're here at 1:30. No adults are here. I wouldn't doubt that adults do come, but $19 million.
It's kind of like North Korea. It's like everything's set up, but there's no people. It's like for a show almost.
No, nobody's here already. You have to come back tomorrow.
And could we get like a brochure to enroll our grandma into this location?
I don't have anything.
Can anyone give us a brochure?
Angela, does somebody have information about here?
I don't think it's enough to say it's fraudulent because you do see that it is operating. There were people working inside there. But the fact that there's just businesses like these popping around everywhere, and this is what they look like outside of a location that receives $19 million over the past few years, yet the building looks completely almost dismantled out here. And look, all they have to say that they are an adult day healthcare is that sign that says ADHC. And there was some people working inside of it. We have the phone number right here. Darren's gonna go ahead and give a phone call and see if somebody from inside answers. There are people inside right now. The phone's just ringing.
You can leave a message after the tone. This mailbox is full.
There you have it. They don't even have an inbox available to take in a voicemail. And another thing to take note of is Gavin Newsom right now in Polymarket. He is the leading nominee for the Democrats come 2028.
Okay, that's actually an interesting point, right? So the fact that people still think that Gavin Newsom is actually going to be possibly running the country, does that not scare the living daylights out of you? Our thanks again to Nick Shirley, great YouTuber, for that report. I do want to qualify, and I think he said this as well, that it doesn't necessarily point to fraud, but the idea that they're getting 19 million and you get nobody in there, that's a little suspicious. I mean, at least they had the facility, because in many cases, when we saw him at those daycares in Minnesota, they didn't even have the facilities, right? They didn't have anything for kids, let alone kids. The Leering Center, yeah, the Leering Center that wasn't. So I think that that's pretty darn concerning that people would ever consider electing a guy who is so wasteful. I mean, looking the other way as all of this is going on. And, you know, Chris Rufo's been reporting on this too over at Manhattan Institute, and he's coming up with a big figure.
Do you support Israel and the Jewish people? Now, more than ever, Israel needs committed friends.
Discovered was really shocking. Not only are these top line numbers somewhere between $180 billion and $280 billion in fraud under Gavin Newsom in California, but when you dig into it and you read all of the court documents, the indictments, the other investigations, we found out that virtually every criminal group on planet Earth has been looting the state of California. Romanian international fraud rings. You had rap groups in Memphis, Tennessee. You had neo-Nazi prison gangs. You had people actually in California death row applying for fraudulent unemployment benefits. And what we found is that essentially every criminal group saw that Gavin Newsom was opening the floodgates of state spending. They could take whatever they wanted. And he's losing now an estimated up to $50 billion a year to fraud with no end in sight.
Unbelievable stuff, unbelievable and shameful. So, you know, whether it's NATO basically giving us the middle finger, saying, hey, we're not going to let you use our airspace. We're not going to even let you use the bases that you've built up. Or whether it's California stealing like blindly from us, or Minnesota, same deal. Like, we got to batten down the hatches, okay? And this is why we have a businessman in the White House. This is what it takes, okay? Because he's looking at this and saying, why are we bleeding all this cash and we're getting nothing for it? How does this make any sense at all? And we're going to go after these guys. I mean, Todd Blanche, he has one mission and one mission only: find every stinking last one of them. And there's a lot.
CBS has done a lot of reporting on hospice fraud specifically. What are you doing to clamp down on that? Who exactly are you targeting? Doctors, owners, when it comes to hospice fraud specifically?
Yes. Exactly. I mean, everybody that participates in it. I mean, you see those, that fraud is the question was about hospice fraud. And that's the purest form of stealing from the American people's pockets, in that it is a lot of money designed to help the most vulnerable among us. And so, you know, who are we prosecuting? It depends on who's committing the crime. If it's the doctor, it's the doctor. If it's the hospital organization itself, fine. If it's the families of the patient, fine.
Okay. Well, we want to know exactly who's been doing this, including whether or not Ilhan Omar has had anything to do with it. $250 million for feeding our future, all of the people, or somehow from her district, and her husband's venture capital business somehow miraculously goes from having $43 in its bank account to having a worth of $25 million plus another E Street Crew. Easy Street. Yeah, that's what that one is. Easy Street. Easy Street Winery. Are you kidding me, guys? Like, are you kidding me? Unbelievable. They're talking about flaunting it in our faces. Anyway, JD's right. What'd she have to do with this?
I'm worried about the immigration fraud. I'm also worried about what did Ilhan Omar know about what was happening in the Somali community, and why was nobody looking into it until, frankly, Donald Trump came along?
Because you never had a businessman in the White House before. You never had anybody care about a balance sheet. You had nobody looking, and nobody was minding the store, for goodness sakes. That's exactly why. And then Trump's like, hey, I don't think that we should be taxing all these people, all this money. And I don't think it's going to the right places.
Okay. Now we go.
For anything that is negative about Trump. And so going into this war, it was like, oh my gosh, how could he do this? How could he do this? How could he do this? And then as we're coming out of it, they're like, how can he do this? How can he do this? How can he do this? So you're like, okay, guys, you got to get a new angle. We need a little bit of a fresh angle because this is getting kind of repetitive. Anyway, he's writing here on Truth Social today, the Iranians are better at handling the fake news media and public relations than they are at fighting President Donald J. Trump. And that's actually true. That's actually very, very true. They're very good at memes, apparently. New York Magazine did a big piece on this. Ooh, aren't all these little memesters out there in Iran just fantastic? Well, who cares? Whatever. You keep making the memes. You keep talking to your friends at CNN and they keep spouting whatever, but I'm sorry, you got no military, you got no Navy, you got no Army. And all you can do is act like pirates in the Strait of Hormuz. You ought to hang out with the Somalians more, for goodness sakes. I mean, it's not going anywhere for you guys, and the world is closing in, and all your allies that you might have had, they're getting kind of sick of it because they don't want to pay more for oil. Anyway, the media just keeps getting duped by these guys because apparently they've got a PR machine. They don't have weapons, they have PR. And a few of these legacy media outlets have fallen for some of the nonsense, as Fox reported. We talked about this yesterday, but I want you to see it again. This is Trey over in Israel right now.
The Iranians are trying to put out disinformation already. And yesterday we reported on a 10-point plan, and I'm told by a U.S. official that that was actually an old plan that the Iranians put out because they wanted people to talk about it and try to put their perspective forward. And so we are correcting that today. And we spoke with U.S. officials yesterday who said that is not the latest plan. There is an updated plan that the president agreed to. And despite these efforts by the Iranian regime to try to spin negotiators, this will be incredibly consequential this weekend to see whether or not they are serious about creating a good faith deal.
Well, we'll see. But, I think the moral of the story, and I'll show you again what the president wrote is, you guys don't realize the only way you're going to stay alive here is to negotiate a deal. Right? Just ask Delcy. Delcy down in Venezuela, she's got that gig because she's playing ball, all right? Otherwise, she'd be in prison like Nicolas Maduro. So we're playing hardball and we're playing for keeps. And, JD, I wish him all the best. I kind of wish it was Marco just because I think Marco's a little bit more level-headed about this stuff. But hey, I'm happy to be surprised. I'm always happy to be surprised. And perhaps we could be. But, the media, they never want to be surprised. And they'll never, he can fix the world for generations to come. He can totally bring peace to the Middle East. He could find the cure for cancer. He's already sending people to the moon. He can do it all, okay? And they will never, ever, ever respect him.
Okay, I got some short ones here. Got one lady that talks kind of, I don't know what her action is. Oh, wait. Do these ones first. 3 minutes.
In the entire banking industry in order to discuss the quantum computing threat. I made a video and I was going to post it, and then I was like, you're missing the point. So I don't know if you guys remember, Jake Claver's been saying for a while that before the Clarity Act goes through, XRP is going to spike. That's important to remember because the XRP ledger actually introduced something called the AlphaNet back in December of 2025 to subvert or avoid the security risk that was discussed in the meeting today by the Trump administration, aka XRP ledger is safe from this national security threat, and everybody's going to have to move over to it in order to prevent a complete and total collapse of the current financial system. Oh, it's almost like they planned this. It's such a beautiful time to be alive. Okay, so this is what's going to probably end up happening. This is my guesstimation. Pretty much all the banking industry is now on high alert. They know, oh no, we've got all of this stuff that's potentially going to create a problem in the old legacy system. What can we do? They're already connected. So at that point in time, they can just push everybody over. XRP is going to spike because it's got the CFTC and the SEC clearance. And then XRP price goes up before the Clarity Act goes through. Bada bing, bada boom. We'll just see. We're watching. We're waiting. Do I know when? No. Do I know that the ISDA, the IMF, BIS, everybody has meetings on their calendar this month in order to implement it? Do I know on the 15th, the NASDAQ goes live in order to be able to trade stocks? Am I fully aware of the fact that on October 5th of this year, the entire derivatives market is going to be moving over? Am I fully aware of the fact that they are currently completing stress testing on the XRP ledger in order to ensure that if there's no liquidity, transactions fail? Yes. You guys, you do not stress test a system or go through the lengths to which the current events and all of these things are unfolding for something that's not going to happen. So to anybody saying XRP is a scam, guess what? Buckle up, baby. You're going to be kind of disappointed, I think. I hope anybody that's saying that, like, go out and look at the data. I'm just a research check. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. And today was definitely a news day. Anyway, I love you guys. If you're on my lives at night, oh my.
That was pretty good. This was a short one.
Oh, you don't want to miss this one. This one even had me a little bit shook, a lot shook. I was shaken. I know that by now you have seen the Revelation 12 phenomenon that's going on in the skies. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Okay, by now I know you guys have all seen this. Virgo. The way that Virgo is currently positioned is exactly all of this. The moon is at her feet, and with Leo and the 3 wandering stars, she has 12 stars up above her head. Here's the cool part. And she being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. Guys, right now, there's an amazing phenomenon going on. Check this out. There is actually, right here, she's got something in there called child, right in where her womb is. The moon at her feet, and she is about to give birth to child. Okay, there is so much more to this, but I wanted to get to something else, something that is going to make your jaw absolutely hit the ground. That is exactly how Virgo looks this evening, tonight, just days after the beginning of Rosh Hashanah. But today, another Bible prophecy is unfolding right before our eyes as the UN meets for their SDG summit, signing a peace treaty, one that will last for 7 years. There are 193 countries that are involved in this treaty being signed at the SDG. And the entire platform of this event is the UN stating peace and safety, which brings me directly to this. 1 Thessalonians 5:3. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Does that sound familiar? If not, let me show you. And she being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. Guys, that is all happening right now up above us in the skies. The peace treaty is being signed now during the summit, and Israel and Palestine have even joined, which brings me to this. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head. That is the number of countries that are signing this treaty. You may think it's 11, but one of those countries is a collection of others, making it a total of 10. But what if I were to tell you it gets better? Further on in Revelations 12, and to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she may fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time and times and a half a time from the face of the serpent.
That was interesting. We haven't played her in a while. I got 3 clips with her.
Was a wake-up call, and look at all the terrorist attacks against the United States. Since when you have a shooter in Fort Hood, a soldier walking into Fort Hood and shooting his fellow soldiers at a military base, you would think that would have been a wake-up call. We got to the point in this country where people are afraid to say anything when they see something wrong, like the Fort Hood shooter. For a year, his friends and colleagues and his fellow brothers and the military recognized something was wrong. They even recognized he was psychic. And none of them dared to come forward or say anything or expel him from the military because they were afraid of being called racist and bigots and anti-Islamists. And that's how we ended up with attacks. And so in the United States, we have been trained, 2 topics we don't discuss around the dinner table, politics and religion. And what is Islam? It's a political ideology cloaked in religion. So because people fear being labeled haters or bigots or racist or Islamophobes, because we are not. We love all people. We are not racist in this country. But we have a reason to be concerned about the growing numbers of people in our country who do not share our values, who do not have the same loyalty to the United States that we do, and who adhere to an ideology that commands them to hurt us or do bad to us or even kill us. And so we have a reason to be concerned in this country, and I hope more people will be even more engaged, not just concerned listening to talk radio and information and news, but actually be more engaged in pressuring our elected officials to pass bills to secure and protect the country. And that's why I started my organization, actforamerica.org. And I encourage people, if this is an issue that concerns you, go to actforamerica.org right now. Join us. Start a chapter in your community. Sign up to receive our emails and action alerts so you can be notified when we introduce a bill in Congress to secure your state or to ban Sharia law in your state. We want to be able to reach you. Go to actforamerica.org right now and join us.
Yep, she's another good lady there. Another short one.
Congress for responding to our action alerts and mobilizing their constituents to apply pressure on them to join the anti-Sharia caucus in the United States. Remember, elected officials care about one thing, getting reelected. And they will do anything and everything to please their constituents because they want to make sure they get the vote. And so what Act for America did, here's how it works on Capitol Hill, because I want to explain how politics work. On Capitol Hill, you've got those on the right and those on the left. And you know exactly who are the people on the right. Those are the people that dig their heels on the heel in the ground. They're not going to budge. The Ted Cruz, the Scott Perry, the Chip Roy, those people, and you know exactly how they're going to vote. On the left, you've got the Chuck Schumer, you've got the AOC, you've got the Rashida Tlaib, you know exactly where they're going to vote. But the majority in the middle are what I call sincerely undecided. Those are the ones flick their finger and stick it up in the air and see how the wind is blowing and vote accordingly. So our job as citizens is to create the biggest windmill machine to sway them in their decision making to impact policy.
Chico.
So what Act for America, my organization, has done from day one is mobilize citizens not just to get educated, because we're not lacking education. You can go to Google, type in the word Islam or Sharia, and you get 60,000 pages. We're not lacking education. We are lacking what to do with the education that we have. So what we did is we created an Act Now campaign where we sent it nationwide to all our members. And we said, we want you to pressure your member of Congress to join the Sharia-free caucus. You need to call them. You need to email them. You need to pressure them to join the caucus. And that's how you end up with 60 members of Congress who are now members of the anti-Sharia caucus. People can go to our website, actforamerica.org, click on Act Now, and you'll be able to see the action alert. And if your state, I know people are listening to us right now from all over the country, if you take action, if your state legislatures have not yet joined the Sharia-free caucus, they need to do that right now. You need to call them, you need to email them. And we are also trying to do the same thing, Stella, at the state level. So we're trying to create a Sharia-free caucus in every state through state legislatures as much as we are doing it in Congress. And that's where your actions, those of you who are listening to us right now, are very important. Elected officials listen to you as their constituents. And that's where you impact policy beyond education. We can educate, Stella and I, you and I, Stella, we can do podcasts, we can send information, we can post on social media. That's entertainment. Education is entertainment. Action, where you impact policy, is when you can start things happening. And that's the wonderful thing about the Sharia-free caucus in Congress. You finally have members of Congress who are taking action on things that actually matter and make an impact. So we do not go down the same road that Europe, the same path that Europe is on right now. So this is why we need your engagement as citizens. Go to actforamerica.org, click on Act Now, and take action on our Sharia-free caucus at the state level as well as the federal level.
Okay, two good ones from her. California lady. 3 of them.
Zohran Mamdani wants to expel from the city anyone who is demanding his arrest. The mayor is so desperate that he may even be overthrown by the New York police themselves for stealing police salaries. In other words, he no longer knows how to stay in power, not even with help from other states and cities, as in the case of the mayor of Miami, who sent $50 million in a transaction that was considered atypical and didn't even reach Mamdani's city hall, being blocked by order of Governor Ron DeSantis. The situation for the mayor of New York City is so complicated that he is considering expelling half the population. And even I have seen liberals calling for the arrest of the mayor they themselves helped elect. My dear, even leftists are demanding Mamdani's arrest, as he did not deliver what he promised and even went ahead and stole the salaries of city employees. Mamdani reportedly proposed raising rents in New York City after a wave of protests in Manhattan against his administration and demands for his immediate arrest. The socialist is said to have considered increasing taxes and fees by 45%, and this, my dear, will only further enrage the people.
Two more.
In the Tim Walz administration, Minnesota, who helped Ilhan Omar defraud millions of dollars from American taxpayers using social programs created solely to steal public funds. However, investigators claim that members linked to Somali networks had diverted billions of dollars from American taxpayers. The so-called Horn of Africa financial syndicate had been operating for 3 years. Even though it was created relatively recently, it was responsible for diverting billions of dollars. Nearly $110 million had been laundered through front NGOs, fake humanitarian programs, and contracts with the Minnesota government. which are now being exposed as a full-scale money laundering operation. Mina Hassan Deary, an employee in Tim Walz' office, was identified as the main financial controller of the network on American soil and Ilhan Omar's main contact in the money laundering scheme. Agents also discovered another location where this criminal network had stored a portion of the stolen money. They found $230,000 in cash, diplomatic bags, and a physical ledger. That ledger contained the initials of high-ranking officials from other governments, including those from California, New York, and Michigan, all involved in this mega scandal that will most likely see more Democrats going to jail. Shortly after this, Ilhan Omar will spend the rest of her life.
Okay, one more with her, and I got a couple Vinny videos coming up next.
And Mamdani after the mayor threatened to evict residents from their homes for protesting against the socialist administration. Mamdani wants to confiscate private property to house people who support his administration. He has proposed a rent increase of almost 50%, and the city says that those who do not pay will have their property seized. We warned that this would happen. When will you New Yorkers learn? In less than a year since this scoundrel came to power in your city's mayor's office, he has already managed to steal billions from you, and now he is threatening to evict you from your homes. It seems he wants to turn New York City into a caliphate. Although many are outraged by this situation, to the point of talking about going to City Hall to maybe take this bandit away in handcuffs. But they lack courage, right? They'll wait and see until every last penny is stolen, because the data we have shows that in the 100 days since Mamdani took office, New York City has seen an increase in theft. Corruption at City Hall has reached billions in embezzled money. Mamdani has even stolen pensions and salaries from city employees, and now homes may be confiscated and given to those who support his corrupt administration. My ancestors are turning in their graves, seeing what America has become by giving power to this criminal socialist. A group of New York...
Okay, we got California lady in.
We keep it simple. Take one course at a time with fixed, affordable tuition. Get started at phoenix.edu.
When you're injured, the pain and bills don't stop at 5 o'clock, and neither do we.
10 minutes.
We don't have any photographs of Christ Jesus. We have, however, some incredible historically accurate recountings of his life. And what would you do to be able to look upon the face of Christ? The closest approximation that we could get is perhaps from the Shroud of Turin, which is the artifact that is allegedly Jesus Christ's burial cloth. The burial cloth, of course, is mentioned in all four Gospels. It is, in fact, a real thing. And for generations, the Shroud of Turin was posited as the actual living likeness of Christ before he was resurrected in the tomb. And that resurrection moment imprinted upon this shroud the very likeness of our crucified Lord and Savior. And what would that look like exactly? Well, technology and AI has been just remarkable in the study of this artifact and in the scientists who are trying to blow holes in this story, because, of course, if this just became myth or made up, and if you could disprove it, then you could then, take away an artifact that points to the resurrection, the miraculous resurrection of Christ Jesus. But in fact, the opposite has happened every single time that science tries to study the shroud. They get closer and closer to an approximation of this truly being Christ's burial cloth. And we think it's so very cool.
This isn't a filter.
Videos
that
like this.
Dirt on the glass is the shroud image. Watch what happens when it's wiped away. Now ask the real question. What process makes a surface-only imprint like that without paint?
Gives you a chill effect. You're a believer. Shrouds, obviously, can use, like for instance, to bring you AIs like this. Is this the face of Jesus? Well, it'd be thousands and thousands of years, actually. Christ died over 2,000 years ago, before we'd be able to get photorealistic technology as human beings and take a physical photograph. But that doesn't explain at all how the Shroud of Turin could come to be. I mean, even if you think it's some type of Middle Ages forgery, how did you do this to linen cloth? Scientists inspecting the shroud have a breakthrough. A light experiment proves Jesus' resurrection. We don't have that kind of power on earth. Let's read. The resurrection of Jesus Christ has long been called the central myth of faith, but scientists have claimed they have found evidence that prove it is a biblical event. Pablo Di Larazzo, an Italian physicist and chief researcher in the research center in Italy, spent 5 years attempting to reproduce the body image seen in the Shroud of Turin. The relic believed to be a biblical burial cloth wrapped Jesus when he died after the cross. Researchers fired intense bursts of ultraviolet light at clean linen fabric, similar to the shroud, altering the chemicals in a structure of the fibers, turning them faintly yellow. Despite successfully creating small areas of shroud-like discoloration, the team found that recreating the full body image was beyond modern technology. Their calculations showed that producing a life-sized image would require an enormous burst of ultraviolet energy derived and delivered at extremely short time, far more than current laser systems can generate. Findings were recently discussed on the Sean Ryan Show with biblical scholar Jeremiah Johnson, where said Delazio estimated the process would require extraordinary energy. He said, Pablo told me it would take 34,000 billion kilowatts of energy traveling 1/40th of a billionth of a second to change the chemical makeup of fine linen shroud to leverage an image. And we don't have that kind of power on Earth. Is that remarkable? Again, the shroud is just nothing short of miraculous. I love ancient and relic Christendom so much in archaeology and in artifacts point to the incredible history of the church and what it is built upon. And well, here's effectively how the church was built, right? The resurrection of Christ. Using intense UV light, his team was able to recreate small areas of discoloration, but we don't have the kind of power on Earth. It was a chemical change in the shroud that lasted longer than 1/40th of a billionth of a second. It would have scorched it. It didn't. It's incredible. Shroud of Turin required 34 billion kilowatts of ultraviolet energy, 1/1000th of a second, like a nuclear power blast. This wasn't made by human hands. He is risen. No paint, no dyes, no brush strokes, and little splots of blood and little pieces of pollen from the Jerusalem area and era of Christ's life. Yes, we have. Ladies and gentlemen, really is an incredible discovery. Science, the very thing that some non-believers use to try and disprove God, may have just in fact proven that God is real. For a while, I've been telling you this aspect of the Shroud of Turin's light energy proves not only the veracity of the shroud, but also the resurrection as well. Science has confirmed it. We don't have that kind of power on Earth. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe. Really incredibly special.
1 in 200 billion.
Look at this. Look at how you can show the 3 dimensions of the shroud. How you can map it geometrically and see the actual body of the
It would
crucified
take
Christ.
34,000 billion watts of energy traveling at 1/40th of a billionth of a second to change the chemical makeup of a fine linen shroud to leave that image. And he said, we don't have that power on Earth. So a nuclear event happens. He works with one of the most powerful lasers on Earth. They grew a sample. It took 5 years to get a first century model of a shroud, and they would beam their lasers. Eric Jumper and John Jackson, they're at the Air Force Academy. They're physicists, they're professors. They have a VP8 image analyzer. Have you ever heard of a VP8 image analyzer?
I have not.
This guy has a VP8 image analyzer, and he takes a photo of the shroud from 1931, the Henri photo. We cannot explain how a 2,000-year-old burial cloth has 3D information encoded in it. There's Bruno Barberis. He takes all of the information that I just showed you on the cross, the wound patterns, the crown of thorns, and he assigns as a mathematician a probability to it. And Bruno says,
Stop. Settle down.
Jeremiah, there is a 1 in 200 billion chance it is not the historical Jesus.
1 in 200 billion.
Billion, based on his mathematical probability. And so then I asked him, because, you know, people are dumb and sometimes you have to ask questions to bring your audience along, or they just need to hear it a different way. I said, so Bruno, are you saying that you believe that this was the Jesus of the Bible who was crucified and who this image is? He said, yes. How can I not believe that? The probability compels me to believe.
You'll love to see it. You love to see science, because of course God is the author of all math and science. You love to see all of it pointing in the direction of the creator, and it always does. There's so many different fascinating YouTube channels devoted to the shroud and devoted to its study and what's going on. We don't claim to be one of them. We simply claim to be those who believe and who love following these little bits of these breadcrumbs of information and discovery. Because as the scriptures say in Psalms, the heavens declare the glory of God. So does math and physics in the order of the universe. It's your boy Benny. I want to see the shroud one day. I really do.
Okay, I'm going to get one more Benny in, then a couple short ones, and then we'll finish off with the X2 report.
It's always free this, give away that. It ends today. The free.
Bad gum. Bad gum.
Oh man, you just start asking questions and it's like rolling a small snowball down the top of a mountain, and it becomes an avalanche by the time it hits. And well, I guess all of our UFO questions are starting to hit. We're certainly not the only people that ask UFO questions, but we have gone into the halls of from NASA to the vice president's office to members of Congress that really know what they're talking about here, like Tim Burchett, and asked questions like, what's going on with this UFO story? And we've gotten a ton of different answers, but Tim Burchett, who's in charge of sort of the task force on UFOs, has said, we're getting pretty close to the truth here. And that alien technology will destroy all of us. Okay? Many people have speculated that the discombobulator and ghost murmur and some of the most advanced weaponry and technology in our U.S. military is derived from alien tech. This I don't know. The Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, right? The advanced black box weaponry that's 20, 30, 50 years, a light year advanced. What is all that? Tim Burchett says that, if it was turned and loosed on the people of Earth, that we'd all be gone and vanished in a second. The loose-lipped Republican politician made fresh, wild assertions about classified government meetings. He alleged the existence of alien programs and secret forced breeding programs. Yeah, baby. Rep. Tim Burchett continued his recent extraterrestrial revelations in a recent interview, just as NASA is circling the moon. During a discussion with TMZ, he said that in a closed-door setting, he had a secure meeting with an unnamed official, and he said the official gave the address, times, and dates where people were effectively breeding with aliens. Okay. And then he got more specific, saying directly that reports of pieces of machinery and life that were found did not seem earthly we'll go ahead and play you some of this. Since we're part of it. We asked Matt Gaetz about this, and he's like, "Oh yeah, don't worry. There's alien and human breeding programs." Okay, I don't know. Is that this is how you get Tilda Swinton? Right? Okay, so what does Tim Burchett have to say here to TMZ? First thing, and Tim Burchett talking about the machinery that the aliens have and how that machinery could destroy us.
There have been different reports over the years. Some reports that there have been pieces of machinery that were found that did not seem earthly. And then there have been reports about life that is not earthly. Which one of those two, or both, are you talking about? A form of life that is not earthly, or just something mechanical that's not earthly?
I'd say you'd be safe to say both.
The way you described this, whatever happened at this meeting, this briefing that was happening, was there something that if we knew, we would feel that we are in danger? You said...
Join Planet Fitness for 1 cent down, $15 a month. No commitment. Deal extended to April 16th.
After a career working for major energy companies, I decided to look into coal, and I realized
you wouldn't sleep at night if you knew the things that I saw in these briefings.
Yeah,
should we believe that? That's the part where it seemed alarming.
I don't think we're at danger of this. I mean, if these things exist as I think they do, they could have destroyed us with a blink of an eye. I just don't see that, and I think that's. I just think, but I do think they have the technology and the capabilities of something that we can't understand or we can't grasp.
Tim Burchett went on to say that humans and aliens have interacted with each other. I'm not sure if they've mated, but interacted with each other. Yeah, here we go.
What I want to make sure I'm understanding is a member of our government has told you and others, I guess, that there is a form of alien life and machinery which maybe brought this living creature here that interacted in some form with people?
Yeah, they have, and they've. It's pretty wild. I know. But I'm just telling you, I'm not going to lie to you. I'd take a lie to tell you. You want to put me on a polygraph, I'll take it. But this is what the guy told me. I mean, I've had a very high-ranking naval official describe. I've talked about this before. Underwater craft, something big as a football field, moving at over 200 miles an hour. And there's no fish in the ocean that would do that. We don't even have a sub that'll probably do 40 miles an hour under the. And the last thing he said before he left my office was, it was kind of weird because he didn't go out he went out the side door, which nobody ever uses. And he looked at me, he pulled me up close, and he said, "Tim, they're real." And that's the last thing he said to me. That'll be the title of my book, I guess.
And then the big one, Tim Burchett talks about the clip on our show with Matt Gaetz saying, maybe there's human alien hybrids wandering around the Earth. How you get Joe Biden in a skin suit, right? It's a that's a malfunction one. There you go.
Matt Gaetz was involved in something here just recently. He was interviewed and he talked about this interbreeding thing with.
We saw that. We saw that.
Well, that's a true story. That was military personnel. I think that would be a good story to talk to him about if you all can do that.
Right. He says he learned that from someone in the military.
Yeah, absolutely. The guy was an officer in uniform.
Yeah.
And Matt and I and Representative Luna, we all went down to Florida, and we were turned away. And then Matt made a phone call to somebody at the Pentagon, and all of a sudden they opened the doors and brought the pilots in that were supposed to tell us the story in the first place. And he can probably elaborate a little bit more on that. But that was pretty fantastic. That was a made-for-TV special right there in itself.
So yeah, these clips have certainly made the round. There's a reason why we love Tim Burchett. claiming he'll take a polygraph. He knows it. Not one piece of internet drama is crazier or more important than Tim Burchett saying that aliens are real and there have been human contact. The government insider briefed him. Extraterrestrials have visited Earth. These aliens made direct contact with humans. Government and military officers personally confirmed this. And he's seen and heard reports of massive underwater crafts moving at 200 miles an hour, faster than anything a human could do in the sea. And his briefings were wild and alarming. They'd unglue the country, and they'd be up at night if we saw what he saw. He's 100% serious. Offers to take a lie detector test. Tim Burchett, spilling the tea. Yep. So there is alien life, and the machinery of aliens are being used by our forces. Got it. He is very angry. He told me he's very angry about these UFO scientists being found dead after testifying to Congress. Something that we're constantly confused about why more people don't care about this. There is a spate of deaths and disappearances of UFO technologists within our federal government. And the more that people start talking about these things, the more that people start asking questions, think like the better our country is going to be. I don't really know the answer, but I know this. We're going to find out soon. I know it. I can feel it in my bones. They're like preparing us for something. I'm not sure if it's good. It might be the end times. It's obviously going to be a trick, but it's something. All right, they're preparing for something. You can sense it. Anyway, it's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe. Let me know what you think.
Okay, everybody, I got a Q video and three lady C word, and it's a 5-3, and then the final one will be the X2 report.
And making all decisions in the best interest of the blue and white country and not America. Listen up, because we're going to do a Follow the Money series for the midterm elections. We're going to educate ourselves, and we are going to know exactly who we are voting for and what they are going to do when they're in office. It's actually a pretty brilliant strategy. What AIPAC and Israel donors are doing is getting politicians in the primaries. Majority of people don't vote in the primary elections. So if you have two Democrats running against each other, the AIPAC, Israel donors, will pour their money into the person who will go and be bought off by them and get the person out who doesn't want to give them military aid. It happened with Booker in New York, and it happened in Missouri in 2024. They poured $25 million into those elections, and they have a 96% win rate when they do this. Then that Democrat goes up and that Republican goes up, and they've bought both of them off by that point. So it doesn't matter who we vote for. It matters in the primaries. We're going to start with Kentucky because this race is very important. This is a Republican race. You have Thomas Massey versus Ed Galerian. I don't know how to say his last name. Look, I'm a Follow the Money person. Thomas Massey, easy. Never taken AIPAC money. He is the only Republican to have never taken AIPAC money. Ed, however, Ed's bought off Israel whore. Tell me why in Q4 of 2025, 141 donors maxed out their $3,500 contribution to Ed. Of those 141, 121, 85% are Democrat donors. And of those 121 donors that are Democrat donors, 112 of them are high dollar Democrat donors. Why are 121 Democrat donors pouring money, maxing out into a Republican primary? Ask yourself that. In addition, two super PACs have poured over $5 million into just getting Massey out by running influencer ads. They're paying these influencers. If you hear people just saying, vote for this person, or trying to trash someone without having any evidence behind it, ask yourself, are they being paid? I have never, and I will never, take one dime to promote a politician, a political view, nothing. I refuse. It goes against everything in my being. So they're pouring all this money, over $5 million, into just trying to get people to be like, don't vote for Massey. Let's trash Massey, PhD engineer from MIT. Let's trash him. Let's call him stupid. Meanwhile, Miriam Adelson, the Nevada casino owner who gave Trump $100 million, who's pretty much at the epicenter of all shit that goes down with Israel, she gave Ed $750,000 from her PAC. Then you have a hedge fund guy from New York who gave him $1 million. And then you have a Florida hedge fund guy who gave Ed $250,000. Why do you guys care about a district in Kentucky? Do you want to know how many of Ed's donations, what percentage has come from Kentucky? 2.5%. So Kentucky on May 19th, vote wisely. Let me know what state you want me to do next. Stay tuned.
That was part one, so we'll probably that part two tomorrow. A 4-minute cue and then the final video.
But every once in a while, the Democrats, they really get under my skin. And when I say Democrats, I'm giving all the rhinos over to the Democrat side, because that's really what they are, right? I mean, they're Democrats dressed up in red ties, right? So I'm really frustrated because right now we've got both liberal Republicans and leftist Democrats calling for the impeachment of Donald Trump using the 25th Amendment. Now, this is interesting for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're spending a lot of time trying to convince people that Donald Trump is unstable and is not mentally capable of carrying out his oath of office. Now, that's interesting for two reasons. Number one, they're just a couple of months away from the blue wave, right? They're trying to convince us that they're about to take all of these seats and they're going to bring America back to its knees, maybe. But the interesting part about it is if they truly believe their own lies, if they truly believe that they were going to take the midterms and they were going to have this massive blue wave, then why are they wasting all of their time and energy trying to convince the world that Donald Trump is incapable of holding office, that they want to use the 25th Amendment against him? Why not just wait until you get into office, you take all of these seats, and you can block all this legislation, right? Why are you wasting all of this time in this political capital trying to convince the world that Donald Trump is incapable of carrying out his oath of office? Now, that's interesting to me that they have chosen to go that route. But what's more interesting to me, if I'm going to be honest, is these are the same people like Jamie Raskin and people like Adam Pencilneck Schiff. These are the same people that tried to convince us that Biden was up to the task, that Biden was 100% never been better, making all of the decisions and doing a bang up job until after he goes and has that disastrous appearance against Trump at the debate. And then it's, oh, we've been noticing for a while that he's been going backwards and, oh, I just can't believe. And now they're scrambling like roaches when the lights come on. And so I find it offensive and actually angering that both the rhinos and the Democrats knew that someone else was running our country, that someone else was making the decisions rather than the people that America voted for. And I'm not going to get into the argument, guys, of, oh, well, it was stolen. Okay, fair enough. I'm talking about there were still millions of people that voted for Joe Biden, that believed that Joe Biden was the better choice and voted for him. And you know what? And if he won the election fair and square, then fine. That is how our country, our republic is supposed to work. He who gets the most votes and wins the electoral college is the president. But none of that happened. And then in addition to that, we had a shadow government being run, and we all know at this point that Biden wasn't making the calls. Biden was proven to be completely incompetent and to be almost a vegetable. We all saw it with our own eyes. Biden's mind was mush. And I don't say that in a way to be unkind, because it's not his fault. That is not his fault. I understand that people have illnesses, and I pray for him as a result of that. Was he a good person? I don't think so. But did he deserve to be put out on Front Street and to have his life in front of a camera and his decline as a human being? Did he deserve more dignity than what his family gave him? Yes. Than what his party gave him? Yes. But they wheeled him right out there in front of that camera. And now they have the nerve, without even giving us answers as to who was running our country. Now they want to ask Donald Trump if he is capable of carrying out his oath. Completely hypocritical. Let me know what you guys think about this. I'll see.
Okay, cool. Okay, let's finish up with the last video, you guys. It's getting warm here now.
Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this episode 3881, and today's date is April 12th, 2026, and the title of the episode is IMF warns old system is in trouble. Trump is setting the stage for a new economic system. Now, we all know Wall Street doesn't lose money on sell-offs. You do. They create the panic, wait for you to dump your position out of fear and scoop it up at a discount. The big banks aren't selling their gold, they're buying yours. Every time the headlines scream, regular people sell, every time regular people sell, the institutions are right there, waiting with open hands. You built portfolio insurance for a reason. Don't let a red day hand it over to the people who caused it. That's why I tell people to talk to Noble Gold Investments. They will help you build a long-term plan and, more importantly, help you stick to it when the noise gets loud. The minors up and downs, that's weather. The long-term trend, that's climate. And the climate has been favoring gold for 5,000 years. So the next time you see a dip and you feel that knot in your stomach, ask yourself one question. Am I making this decision, or is Wall Street making it for me? Don't let them shake you out of the position you built to protect yourself. That's exactly what they want. And right now, all new qualified accounts receive a 10th ounce American Gold Eagle as a thank you. Real gold in your hands. That's the whole point. Go to x22gold.com. That is x22gold.com, or just click the link in the description. And remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum. You could see with everything that Trump is doing, he's now setting the stage for the new economic system. But before we go into a new economic system, you have to reset the old one. And that's what Trump is doing. Remember, the deep state players, going back to the beginning of COVID, back to March 2020, we had Prince Charles at the time, who's now king. We had Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum telling us this is the perfect time for the Great Reset. And what Trump is doing right now is actually he's reversing it all. He's setting the stage and basically setting everything up for the new economic system. And he's going to put a lot of pressure on all these countries that were going along with this ridiculous Great Reset. And basically, you could see that Trump now is shifting everything. And a lot of these countries, they're going to push back. They're going to say, we're not going to do what you say. But again, in the end, these countries are going to fold. And there'll be no way out of it. And in this country, in the United States, you could see every step of the way, he's preparing and planning for the new system, while the European system completely implodes. I think the IMF was out there letting everyone know, warning everyone that because of what's happening in Iran, we're going to see the economic system really start to fall apart. Now, what they're really talking about, they're really talking about their old system. Their old system is going to start to come down. The United States system is not. You're going to see two different systems. The one that Trump is building right now with the parallel economic system with the tariffs, and you're going to see the old central bank system. You see, this is affecting their system. Trump is putting pressure on their system. And this is when the IMF or the central bank or any other banking system comes out and says, hey, look, it's disrupting the entire system. Yeah, it's their system. Just like when COVID hit, it interrupted their entire globalist centralized system of trade. And then companies started to realize, hey, maybe we shouldn't be based in China. Maybe we should move out, because if everything fell apart, we're trapped in all of this. The same thing is happening right now. And you can see that most of these countries, because they're installed by morons, well, that's what the deep state players love. They love the morons in control, because this way you can control the moron. They're going to keep doing what they're doing. And eventually what's going to happen is the people of their countries are going to start to realize this is definitely the wrong direction. X-Freeze put this out and said, for the first time in history, UK welfare benefits spending has now overtaken the entire income tax revenue. The UK now spends $334 billion on welfare annually. Every single penny of income tax paid by working Brits gone straight to welfare. And it's still not enough. That means nearly 40% of all tax revenue, income tax, corporation tax, VAT, everything combined goes purely to welfare before roads, schools, defense, or anything else. To put all of this in perspective, the welfare spend is about $334 billion. Total taxes collected, $858 billion. Here is the wild part no media talks about. A significant portion of that welfare goes to the people who arrived illegally, were housed in hotels at taxpayer expense, and the government just puts them on benefits indefinitely. And many immigrants just don't even want to work, but enjoy the welfare benefits the UK government provides, leeching off the working class. Meanwhile, native Brits who've paid in their whole lives wait months for support, and it's accelerating. In 2022, $254 billion. 2024, $313 billion. 2025, $334 billion. 2029 forecast, $360 billion. The working class built this country. Now they're taxed into the ground to fund a system that punish work, reward dependency, and leaves the people who paid in their whole lives waiting months for help. No country can survive this madness. UK political system is the most corrupt and well beyond broken. Absolutely. And you can see what's happening in Europe. This is what they're trying to do here in the United States, in many different states. If you look at Minnesota, if you look at New York, if you look at California, if you look at Oregon, if you look at Seattle, they're all following the same exact footsteps. And yes, I know there's other states that are included in all this, but you can see this is where they've been pushing everything. And what's happening right now is Trump now is basically shifting their entire system. Everything that they wanted to do is now being shifted. And if you really look at it, it's basic universal income that they're trying to push here. And it's not going to work whatsoever. And as Trump dismantles their own system that they set up going all the way back into the 60s, yes, we had the central bank in 1913, but if you go to the 60s to the 70s, this is when they established their petrodollar system across the world. And basically, they've been pushing this system very, very hard, because eventually what do they want? They want the old system to crash, and they want to bring us into their new system and shift everything to China. I think we all realize that now. And the IMF now is basically warning everyone that what's happening in Iran will slow global growth, raise inflation, and worsen food insecurity. So basically, the head of the IMF right now, the managing director, is putting out this warning. So basically, the translation to all of this is that their old system is falling apart. Their old system, which is based in all of this, is going to fail. So think about it. Europe is still following the old system. As Trump dismantles the old system, yes, it will fail. Will they see higher energy? Absolutely. Will they see inflation? Absolutely. Now, is there a fix to this? Absolutely. All they have to do is reverse what they did, but they don't want to do that. So now you're going to see the entire European community, Australia, New Zealand, every other country, all of a sudden you're going to see their economy start to falter. And basically you're going to see it start to really fall apart. And they're going to say, hey, look what's happening to the world. It's not the world. The United States is moving in a completely different direction. Trump has already set the stage for this. And this is why he's been bringing in tariff money. This is why he's been selling the gold card. This is why we're now going to sell energy across the globe. You see what he's doing? He's taking...
Robert, the last time I saw you, we were in Greenland together taking a look at some of the preparations for
control of this system. In the meantime, in the background, he's setting everything up, preparing the entire country. Now, like we said before, there are states that are out there that are still following the same agenda as Europe. All you got to do is look at Virginia is one of them. Actually, Trump decided to make mention of Virginia, and he put this out on Truth. He said, heading to Virginia for meetings at Trump National. I can't believe this new Governor Spanberger has done to the Commonwealth. So sad. She's adding so many taxes and food and beverage tax, digital service tax, utility tax, and more. It has lost its energy, vitality, and strength. People are leaving that would never have even thought of doing so. New companies that signed to come into the Commonwealth under Governor Youngkin are now looking for ways to get out, break their deal. It all happened so fast. This went from a thriving and powerful place, one envied by all, to a Commonwealth run by a person who has no concept of low taxes and economic strength. People that voted for Spanberger are saying to themselves, why did I do that? What have I done? We have a similar situation in New York and most of all California, where rich, job-producing people and companies are being forced to flee at levels never seen before. The tax base in California is literally disappearing. As soon as the richest people and companies in the world have no choice but to leave, they want to put on a wealth tax, which gives them absolutely no alternative. As President of the United States, I'm embarrassed to watch the destruction of a once great and thriving state. These politicians are all sinking in the polls, but that doesn't help because they will create trillions of dollars worth of destruction, incalculable amounts. Remember, once people and companies leave, they never come back. President DJT. And you could see this in California. You could see this in New York. Why do you think Governor Hochul was out there saying, listen, hey, you know all those people that went out to Palm Beach? Now, we all know Wall Street doesn't lose money on sell-offs. You do. They create the panic, wait for you to dump your position out of fear and scoop it up at a discount. The big banks aren't selling their gold. They're buying yours. Every time the headlines scream, regular people sell, every time regular people sell, the institutions are right there, waiting with open hands. You built portfolio insurance for a reason. Don't let a red day hand it over to the people who cause it. That's why I tell people to talk to Noble Gold Investments. They will help you build a long-term plan and, more importantly, help you stick to it when the noise gets loud. The minors up and downs, that's weather. The long-term trend, that's climate. And the climate has been favoring gold for 5,000 years. So the next time you see a dip and you feel that knot in your stomach, ask yourself one question. Am I making this decision or is Wall Street making it for me? Don't let them shake you out of the position you built to protect yourself. That's exactly what they want. And right now, all new qualified accounts receive a 10th ounce American Gold Eagle as a thank you. Real gold in your hands. That's the whole point. Go to x22gold.com. That is x22gold.com, or just click the link in the description. And remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions. Yeah, you took all your money. We didn't expect that. Why don't you send it back and help us with our social programs? Why in the world would anyone want to do that? It makes no sense whatsoever. And you can see by doing this, by doing what they're doing right now, they're going to destroy their state. Just like Europe. Europe is following the same exact path. They're following the same path of destruction. And they will destroy themselves. Trump and the Patriots, they know it. And basically, sometimes you just don't interfere with an enemy while in the process of destroying themselves. And you know what's going to happen when everything really starts to fall apart? The people are going to rise up. The people are going to say, enough is enough. We've had enough. I mean, look what's happening out in California already. Yes, they have a lot of taxes on gas, and I'm sure they would love to put even more taxes on gas and many other things. And as they do this, they drive more and more businesses out of the state. And as more businesses and more people leave the state, what happens? They have to add more taxes because they have to remember, they've been pretty much cut off from federal funding. So now they're having a very difficult time. Plus, they used to get funding for the sanctuary cities. They used to get funding for their other projects, which they money laundered. Now that's coming to an end. So what do they got to do? They got to look inside to get that money, to keep everything operational. And what happens when people start to leave their states? What happens when businesses start to leave their states? They can't make ends meet. So what do they got to do? They got to raise the taxes again. And it's a never-ending cycle. But what's very interesting, independent Representative Kevin Kiley is moving to hit high-tax states where it hurts, their federal funding. Kiley has now introduced the Gas Tax Reduction Act, a bill that would cut federal highway funding to states that maintain gas taxes at or above 50 cents per gallon, a direct financial penalty tied to state tax policy. The bill targets states like California, where gas taxes are among the highest in the nation and pump prices remain high. Well, once again, we're looking at this, I think, in the wrong way. Yes, we can continually put this legislation in place, but if you don't go to the source of the problem, all you're doing is combating the symptoms. And another symptom will then evolve, and then another symptom. So basically, instead of doing all of this, why don't we just go to the source of the problem? Why do they have this problem? Where are they getting their money from? Can we stop the flow of money? Absolutely. And if you could do that, that shuts all of this down, and you don't need all these ridiculous laws. So if you go to the source of the problem where they get their money, which is the Federal Reserve, yes, it goes through Congress. Yes, then it goes to them, and it's money laundered out to all the different areas. But if you shut off the spigots, you shut pretty much everything down. And if you have a finite amount and everything is tracked, they can't do this at all. You don't need any of these laws anymore. Actually, if you get rid of the Federal Reserve, what happens? The value of the currency is then maintained. It's stable. It has value. And it doesn't lose value over time. And since it's not losing value, you don't need to raise the minimum wage. You don't have to do all these things that you were doing before. So I do believe the answer to all of this is go to the source of the problem. Now, with everything that's going on, it's understandable that people believe that the economy is not going to get better over time. Because again, we're still stuck in a central bank system. Trump has been building the foundation to the new system. He's been setting the stage for the new system, reorganizing everything out in the Middle East, because you have to remember when Kissinger went out there, what did he do? He organized everything to make everyone dependent on the oil out in the Middle East, not in the United States, not in Venezuela, not in Russia, not anywhere else except there. Yes, you can get oil other places, but that was the main focal point. Now Trump is decentralizing what they centralized. That's the whole point of this. So yes, like Rasmussen puts out a post on X and says fewer Americans now see their financial situation getting better, and most don't expect it to improve soon. Actually, I know people are saying, see, look, the financial system's not doing well. People are down. They're looking at Trump go, oh, look what he did. He ruined everything. But actually, this might work to his advantage, because as we get closer and closer to the midterm, and all of a sudden everything starts to shift around, and the economy all of a sudden starts to improve rapidly, which I do believe is going to happen, all of a sudden everyone's going to go, whoa, wait a minute. What's going on here? I thought there was no hope, but look what's going on here. And all of a sudden, everything changes. So I think this is going to come as a shock to many, many people. And like we said before, Trump now is basically turning the tables on the deep state players, and he's resetting everything they put into place. I'm going to read part one of Joe Lange of what he's talking about with the powerful reset. He says, anybody catch this cryptic post by Trump on True Social?
5 minutes, you guys.
World's most
5
powerful
minutes.
reset. Does anybody remember the WEF's version of the Great Reset? COVID-19 lockdowns may be gradually easing, but anxiety about the world's social and economic prospect is only intensifying. There is a good reason to worry. A sharp economic downturn has already begun, and we could be facing the worst depression since the 30s. But while this outcome is likely, it is not unavoidable. To achieve a better outcome, the world must act jointly and swiftly to revamp all aspects of our society and economies, from education to social contracts and working conditions. Every country from the United States to China must participate, and every industry from oil and gas to tech must be transformed. In short, we need a great reset of capitalism. The COVID shutdowns were supposed to be the beginning of a forced worldwide reset that would completely enslave the world financially. Capitalism.
This is probably going to go viral, so if you're broke, you need to stick around. If you've been searching for a side hustle that
would be dead, and everything would be controlled. But Trump has ruined all their plans. World's most powerful reset. A deal was finally reached. A deal on what? The Clarity Act. The Clarity Act has been held up in the Senate from passage over one main sticking issue: yield, interest payments on stablecoins. The big banks don't want the law to allow crypto companies to offer their customers interest payments on their stablecoin deposits. They can't compete. Now, notice the timeline. The House passed the Clarity Act in July of 2025. It stalls in the Senate as a battle between the banks and the crypto companies fight over yield. This is the entire reason why Trump has been pushing stablecoins so hard. Stablecoins destroy corrupt fractional banking. So Trump forced the issue. First, the CEO of Coinbase pulled out of negotiations and very publicly said he wouldn't support the Clarity Act. The bankers thought they had won. But instead, Tim Scott delayed the markup on the bill. That allowed Trump the time to cook. President Trump has thrown his support behind crypto firms in their high-stakes battle with U.S. banks over whether they can offer interest-like returns on stablecoins. Trump, in social media post late Tuesday, ratcheted up pressure on banks to relent on the stablecoin yield issue. That's the key point of contention holding up passage in Congress of the Clarity Act, which is a companion bill to the Genius Act approved last year, setting up a framework for regulated stablecoins. The Genius Act is being threatened and undermined by the banks, and that is unacceptable, Trump said in a post. They need to make a good deal with the crypto industry because that's what's in the best interest of the American people. Trump publicly went against the banks in the best interest of the American people. Then came this statement applying pressure to the banks. White House economists have shrugged off concerns from bankers that allowing cryptocurrency companies to give customers yield would lead lenders to lose their deposit base. In short, a yield prohibition would do very little to protect bank lending, while foregoing the consumer benefit of competitive returns on stablecoin holdings, the report read. Competition and what's best for the American people. Then Bissent holds an emergency meeting with the Fed big banks to discuss a new Anthropic AI model that can rapidly search and exploit vulnerabilities in bank software. The surprise meeting between the bank chiefs and the two most powerful federal monetary regulators was a signal that advanced capabilities of AI are a top concern in the Trump administration and could threaten the foundation of the U.S. financial system. See the setup? Pressure being applied to force change. Absolutely. And basically, he has turned the tables on all of them. And as time goes on, you're going to see that Trump has maneuvered the entire system away from the bankers. And as he maneuvers the entire system away from the bankers, he's bringing it back to the people. The control is going to be brought back to the people. Remember, going back in time, of course, back to 1913 and then World War II when we became the reserve currency, then in 1971 when we came off the gold standard, and then 2008 when we went full central bank system where they controlled everything. Trump now is reversing all of this and setting up the system that will actually go against the central bank system. Yes, he has the tariff system. Yes, he has the gold card system. Yes, he has the energy cell system, but he's also working within the framework of the U.S. economy, where he's setting it up with stable coins so he can compete against the central bank. So this way, if they try to do anything, if they try to make a move, it's going to be very, very difficult because, again, as you're weeding yourself off the central bank system and have all these pieces into place, you really don't need the central bank system anymore. And that's why he needs all these things done. So as time goes on, we're going to see that the stage has been set, and now he's rerouting everything around the world. Remember, they centralize everything, and I'm talking about energy, and that is huge. They centralize this in the Middle East. What is Trump doing right now? He's decentralizing it worldwide. Just like when we had COVID, basically we had a centralized system. Now, Trump, what does Trump do? He's decentralizing it all, especially with placing tariffs on all different countries. So every step of the way, everything they try to do, he basically reverses what they're doing. And now he's setting up the entire system globally for the people system. And this will spread across the world. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and
okay. Well, what a day of intel. All right. Everybody have a good Monday. Hopefully we'll get something this week, like what we always say every week. Something's got to give. All right. Kay, I hope you're getting better. We'll see Kay tomorrow, hopefully. We got Tim, Lucy, Carol, and Heidi go in. Sandy, good to see you. Jay didn't come in tonight, I don't think. All right, so God bless everybody. Love all. Remember, please hit the like and stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith, and never give up. Have a great start of the work week, you guys. Have a good one. See you tomorrow.